I was raised in a very conservative household. I married my ex-wife when we were only 21 and had our daughter and son immediately. 3 years ago, my daughter said she was dating a black dude. I was vehemently against it and told her she was not allowed to date him. She didn't listen, and her mother was on her side. We had lots of arguments, and I disowned her, which caused a rift in my marriage, and I asked my ex-wife to choose between her and me. She told her that she chose her. I packed my bag that day and left. My friends stopped talking to me, and so did my coworkers. I was like, screw it, I'm done. I got divorced and moved to another state, leaving all behind. Then I met my current girlfriend. She's Latina, and she was my landlady. We didn't interact that much initially, except for pleasantries, but with time, we started interacting more. She learned about my cooking habits. Basically, I don't know how to cook. I never learned. My ex used to do it. So when I found myself single, I tried to cook some chicken breast, and it turned into rubber. So I looked on the internet for what to do, and they told me to make soup. That's what I've been doing for the past few years. I just make chicken soup with lots of veggies and put rice in it. There's no way I could mess it up. So when she learned about it, she invited me to have a real dinner with her. She's an exceptional cook. That's when I started falling for her, and we started dating soon after. So I've gone through a great transformation in how I think. So a month ago, I decided to contact my daughter and tell her that I was sorry and wish her a happy life. I wrote that I had no say in whether she wanted to meet me, but if she wanted, I wanted to start over. She called me and started crying. She's 7 months pregnant, and the dude left her. She's going to be a single mother. I consoled her, and we started talking. I drove her to where I lived, and she met my girlfriend. They liked each other very much. When my ex came to know of it, she lost her crap, told me I was a hypocrite, and that I had destroyed our marriage. She's also mad at our daughter for talking to me. She said she sacrificed her marriage to support her. No one can really blame my daughter for how she's feeling. I was technically right about the dude for the wrong reasons. Ex is telling me that if I had changed my mind about the race thing, then I should have come back to her. But I love my girlfriend. I don't think I'm wrong here. Yes, you were completely the idiot. Let's recap. You destroyed your relationship with your daughter over racism, and then have a BS ultimatum to your wife of having to choose between her daughter or her husband. A totally crappy decision, no matter who she chooses, because she either loses her husband in marriage or loses her only daughter. The only shining silver lining is that choosing her daughter was morally correct, but that was no solace given what she lost. Following that, you leave and move to another state where a girl just cooks you a meal, and boom. Do you see the error of your ways? Like, couldn't you have done that with literally anyone else? Did everyone abandoning you not register as maybe I'm the bad guy? Nope, it took a brown woman serving you to figure out you're a total idiot. You may have been right about the guy your daughter dated being crap, but you're no better. Do better, OP. That poor woman, the ex will never forgive him or get over it. And she's probably going to hold it against the daughter, too. She said to OP if he changed his mind about race, he should come back to her. So she's not over OP. If she thinks he should return to her because of this, to see him doing the very thing that destroyed their marriage has to be like a knife to the heart, even if she didn't care, and clearly she still does. I think the ex-wife is a lost cause. I hope she doesn't poison the daughter against him. Well, you can't go back, but you need to apologize with every step you take for a long, long time, because your behavior caused turmoil in 3 lives. I hope you understand that you did something bad, and now there's a problem. There's no who's right or who's wrong here. Be there for your daughter and her child, support them, and book an appointment with a therapist. I'm telling you, it will definitely help. Also, you should give an apology to your ex and tell her that it's in the past, and be humble. When I, 26 female, was 7, I lost my dad. My mom remarried when I was 9. My stepsister, 29, was 12 at the time. We had very different experiences with the whole blending of the families. I didn't want it to happen and wasn't exactly looking to make them my new dad and sister. They never really became that, but I've accepted that they are family. With my stepsister, her mom chose not to be in her life, and she always longed for a family, where she had a mom and maybe some siblings. It made us all living together uncomfortable, with her and me wanting very different things, and her dad and my mom were unhappy with how I felt about us becoming a real family, as they would put it. We're all okay now, not so close, but no hate or animosity there anymore. At least it was well hidden until this. So my stepsister married when she was 20 and had her son then too. She lost her husband 2 years ago. Her son is now a tween. My stepsister has met a man, a widower, and he has 2 kids under 3. They're trying to get to the point where they move in together, but her son is not really blending with them, which is how she said it. He's not unkind or rude, but he's not making an effort, is how she views it. And he said that he doesn't want to be part of the new family she wants. They decided to go away for the weekend together to see if that would be a good experience and whether it would help them bond. She said her son ignored when the toddler wanted to hold his hand, and then he didn't want to sit with her partner, who was also looking at the stars on their first night there. He also didn't want to take photos with them all. So she decided I needed to talk to him as someone who also lost my dad. She said the adult me could give him a more mature insight into everything. I told her I would talk to him, but I wouldn't read from a script. She told me to just be honest. I did talk to her son. I assured him that his feelings were okay, that I felt the same way. I told him it was okay for his feelings to change, and I told him that mine hadn't really. They had just softened so I could like them as people, even if they weren't my dad and sister. He liked hearing that, and he said he did believe that would be how he'd feel, and I assured him it was okay. He was honest about how he just didn't feel the way his mom wanted to, and I related with him with that. My stepsister didn't like that at all, and a couple of days later, she called to curse me out and said I didn't help her like I said I would. She told me her son was now more sure than ever that he didn't want to try and be a family with them. And she told me I was so selfish to ruin her life the way I had ruined my mom's. I told her my concern was with her son and how he was doing. She told me to go screw myself. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Honestly, I don't think your stepsister's an idiot either, and I feel for everything she's gone through. Still, in this situation, it sounds like you're giving your son what he needs by validating his feelings, honestly. Lying to him wouldn't have served him well. Good job. Your stepsister also didn't lose a parent. Even if her mom chose not to be in her life, she was still alive, which is a trauma of a different color. Please be there for your nephew and suggest family counseling. They probably want to move quickly so the little kids bond with your sister, and bam, new mom. I also lost my dad. My mom also remarried 2 years later, and it was awful and just compounded the trauma. I disagree. OP has some unresolved issues relating to blending the family and the changes it brought. Also, it doesn't sound like OP gave the son any advice, which seems like what the stepsister wanted. Affirming someone's feelings is good and helpful, but is that really helping them through a situation if it comes without offering guidance on how to move forward or delving into why the kid feels like this? You are the idiot. Sure, OP, tell your truth. It is your truth right now. But yeah, you're encouraging a kid in his negative feelings. I think the kid would have been better served talking to a family counselor, one skilled in resolving complex issues like this, rather than someone who was okay with hate or animosity, as long as it was hidden well. I'm a 25-year-old man. I have 2 sisters and 6 female cousins, all younger than me. All that to say, I'm used to being around girls and young women of all ages. I know how to treat them respectfully as equals, and to be a protective cousin or brother when needed. My wife's sister, Rachel, 28, is having some difficulty, and the family's trying to help, including by supporting her daughter, Elle, pre-tween. My in-laws had Elle over for dinner, while Rachel was at home catching up on household stuff, and my wife and I were there too. Elle kept talking about a tea party Rachel would take her to the next day. She was very excited about it, like it's all she talked about, haha. The next day, Rachel reached out in the family chat, asking if someone could take Elle because she felt sick. Everyone was working except for me, so I asked her for the information, picked up Elle, and took her. The event flyer on the door said it was for girls and their moms, grandmas, aunts, godmothers, etc. When I got there, I explained that I was standing in for her mother and asked if I could stay and participate with Ellie. They said yes, but I know I was side-eyed the whole time. Whatever. I was there so Elle could have fun. We drank tea, colored pictures, and did a few other activities. At the end, each girl got to take a picture with their adult person, which was supposed to be posted on their social media later. So I took a picture with Elle. The next day, I went on to the group page. I had to request access to get the picture to send to Rachel. It wasn't posted with the others. I couldn't figure out who to message, so I left a comment that said, "Could I please get a picture of me and my niece? Thanks." I didn't hear anything back, so I decided to check the group again, only to find a post by one of the participants stating how uncomfortable they were with a man at the event. This was followed by comments such as, "Probably thought he could sneak into the girls' room or something. Was probably just there waiting to mansplain anything he could." The one that made me so mad I could only laugh was, "Typical, to insert a man where he wasn't invited." Other comments expressed anger that I wasn't asked to leave, with one person even saying, "The police should have been called." The thread was eventually locked and deleted. I haven't looked since. I don't know any of these people. I spoke to maybe one person there, and there were more comments than there were even people in attendance. I've only told my wife about this so far, because I'm dumbfounded. But am I the idiot for simply taking my niece to an event? Yes, it was for women, but was the better alternative really to not let her participate in something she was excited about after literally driving her to it? I do plan to tell Rachel that I don't think Elle should go back there. I don't trust them not to try to ask her if she's safe or something else out of line. Rachel's not part of the group that hosted it. I think she learned of the event somewhere else. To clarify, my sister-in-law did not know this was a woman-only event. She was told about it via word of mouth, and I didn't see that information on the flyer until my niece and I were at the door. Also, there was one other man there. The person making the snacks, I believe, is an employee of the little cafe it was held at. I've seen him there before. There were 10 to 15 women at the event itself. Not the idiot. You asked permission, it was granted, and you did nothing wrong. The comments you got on that page, though, were freaking disgusting. You were a good uncle, and I commend you for doing whatever possible to give your niece an excellent time. The big factor here is that you asked if it was okay for you to stay, rather than just assuming it. Those people were out of line. Keep up being an awesome uncle, and don't let this hiccup dissuade you from being the best one you can be. As a public school teacher with a wife who works year-round, I did many things like this. I was flat out told by several mom groups that dads weren't welcome. I couldn't find a group for my kids to socialize with. I hate to say it, but I think it's a mix of things. They have uninvolved husbands and are jealous. They're there to socialize with other moms and don't want to have an awkward conversation with their husbands about a man they were talking to. Flat out misogyny involving gender roles. Heaven forbid, gasp, you were a gay or single dad who doesn't need a mom at all. The funny part is that, as a teacher, I'm used to socializing in female-dominated environments. It's sometimes even hard to small talk with random dads because I don't know a thing about sports. In today's world where near everybody's trying to fight against gender bias and becoming a more tolerant world, this is insane. I, 33 female, am currently expecting. My husband, 35, and I have been together for over a decade, and I chose to keep my maiden name when we got married several years ago. He's also respected this decision. As far as future children go, I always knew our children having his surname was important to him, and I never had an issue with this. So now I'm pregnant, and after we found out, I was excited. In my excitement and babbling about the future, I mentioned the idea of a hyphenated name, which I immediately said wouldn't be practical, as it would be too much of a mouthful. I reiterated that his last name for the baby was the plan. He balked, disgusted at the idea of a hyphenated name, and said, "Kids with hyphenated names get picked on, and they're ridiculous. The baby will have my name because that's how it is." Again, I was in support of the baby having his last name, but I was taken aback by this comment and asked, "What do you mean that's the way it is?" He said that children automatically are given their father's last names at birth, as if it's some automatic legal requirement, like someone comes to the hospital and enforces the father's last name on the birth certificate. Now I'm even more taken aback and questioning what the heck he's talking about. I do not like this. He escalated further about men who have children without their last names being schmucks, etc. I'm fully stunned at this point. He has no explanation for the statement he made about fathers' names being automatically enforced by nameless, faceless entities on families at hospitals, and switched to saying, "Come on, you know this has always been important to me," which I feel is contradictory to the bizarre claim of legal enforcement. I went from having no issue with giving our child his surname to having an issue with it, as I'm upset with what I perceive to be entitlement. And even though I don't want a hyphenated name, I was still upset about him being so disgusted with the idea of my surname being included. This conversation changed the whole tone of this for me. It went from being something I had no problem doing because I knew it was important to him, to being very turned off by these recently discovered beliefs. I have addressed it twice since this initially occurred, telling him it's very off-putting and upsetting for me. He just blows up and demands to know what last name the baby will have. I know I'm hormonal and not quite myself lately, so I want to know other people's take. Am I the idiot for having such an issue with this? Not the idiot. This is a problem of toxic masculinity, not your hormones. It's one thing to decide between the two of you, though honestly, the difficulties of hyphenated last names are largely overblown by people who just don't want to hyphenate. It's another thing to be asked to sign off on patriarchal nonsense, and it's worth asking what else he's going to insist on because, in his mind, it's just how things are. The fact that he's repeatedly blowing up about it, rather than taking a step back to talk calmly about his views and expects you to just roll with it, that's more than cause to be upset. Not gonna tell you to leave him, but do keep an eye on this stuff. If he's taking his cues from unexamined gender stereotypes, you may see some parenting behavior that's potentially problematic, even if you find him a mostly reasonable partner. He's enforcing a gender hierarchy that has no place in today's world. And even worse, he claims, that's how it is, and that's how it works, as if that hierarchy isn't man-made but natural law, such as the tides coming and going. I'm laughing imagining what this man thinks the birth certificate process is like in the hospital. Like, does he think a nurse reviews it and puts some big red X on it to let the government know to follow up, asking why his last name wasn't used for the child? Yeah, there's a red flag waving wildly there. Now that she's pregnant and can't just leave, not saying he's abusive, but red flags only showing after a woman is trapped is one of the things abusive men do. It's not about the name, but the weird attitude that came out. Your husband has revealed some unsettling true colors. Will he pass those views on to your child? I would be upset if I were you and rethinking the relationship entirely.